This is Algebra 1, Lesson 4.6, introducing slope-intercept form, making quick graphs with it. First thing we have is the definition of slope-intercept form. This is slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. Each of these things represents something. The equals says that it is what it is. M represents your slope, and b represents your y-intercept. Remember, all y-intercept is when you graph an equation, when you actually draw the equation itself, you know that this is the y-axis, the one going up and down. So the point where it actually intercepts it or it crosses through it is the y-intercept. That's your b value. The plus means it's adding to it. It could be positive or negative, so don't think just because it says minus b that it's not in slope-intercept form. That'll just be telling you that it'll be something down here. And then the x and the y represents any point on that line's y and x value, and we'll look at some examples of what that means as we go. Parallel lines. Everybody in here, before you ever walked in this class, understands what parallel lines are. It's lines that'll never cross each other, that'll never intersect. There are another set of lines, I should say, that won't ever cross each other, that you'll learn about more when you get to geometry class, called skew lines. Which skew lines are lines that are on top of each other, but they're in different planes. They're in different planes. So when you get to that in geometry, you'll understand what skew lines are. What you have to understand about parallel lines right now, though, is if both of those lines are graphed on the same plane, since they're parallel, if you check the slope of one line, it's going to go up a certain amount and it's going to go over a certain amount. So its slope, let's say in this example, its slope, we'll just pretend for a second, is 1. It goes up 1 and over 1. The other line that's parallel to it will never cross it because it's going to go up the same one and over the same one. Parallel lines have the same slope, exact same slope. That's why they never cross each other, because they move the same amount of up, or they rise the same amount as they run for each of them. Slope-intercept form of the equation of a line says that the linear equation y equals mx plus b is written in slope-intercept form. The slope is m, the y-intercept is b. The example, y equals 2x plus 3, the slope is 2, and the y-intercept is positive 3. Okay, here's writing equations in slope-intercept form. Example number 1 says write y equals 5 minus 2x. Notice y equals is already all by itself. We've already started the last few weeks, we started conditioning to reorder this. Remember, all you have to do with this to make it slope-intercept form is to reorder it. Put negative 2x first and then positive 5. Well, people say, well, what do I put after the negative 2x before the 5? How do I know to write positive 5 or del plus 5? Because it's positive. Remember, think of that sign as positive and negative and not plus and minus, and you'll treat it the exact same way. So negative 2x plus 5 when you rewrite it. Therefore, your m value is negative 2, not negative 2x. That's the most common mistake people make. They'll try to say it's negative 2x. No, it's negative 2, and your y-intercept is 5. B is 5 because it's positive. Okay, here's one right here. Y equals x minus 2 over 3. You divide both terms by 3. You divide this one by 3, and you divide this one by 3. So when you rewrite it, there's a 1 in front of that x, so it looks like this. Y equals 1x. That's why it becomes y equals 1/3 x. And then there's a negative 2 divided by 3 minus 2/3. Y equals 1/3 x minus 2/3. Therefore, your m value is easy to see. It's what's multiplying by x. That's m. And your b value is also easy to see. It's what comes after. It's negative 2/3. Remember, the sign goes with it. C says y equals 13. There's nothing multiplying by x. So in order to show nothing multiplying by something, 0x, that represents nothing. So your m value is 0, and we know a 0 slope is horizontal, one that goes this way. Plus 13, your y-intercept is positive 13. 2.2x minus 4.4y equals 0. Write it in slope-intercept form by moving 2.2x over by subtracting 2.2x. When you do that, you're left with negative 4.4y equals negative 2.2x when you subtract it from the other side, plus 0. When you divide by negative 4.4 on both sides, you got to divide this one by negative 4.4 and this one by negative 4.4. A negative divided by a negative is going to be a positive in this case. The number 2 goes into this one time, into this one 2 times. So it's going to be like 1/2 x plus 0 divided by anything is 0. So y equals 1/2 x. We know it's the same thing as 0.5x plus 0. So your m value is 0.5. Your b value is 0. And then we have a checkpoint problem with 3 different ones. All you have to do for number 1 is reorder the b and the mx. When you reorder it, it's going to say y equals negative 3x, positive 4 or plus 4. Your m value is negative 3, so your slope is negative 3. And your b value is positive 4, so b is 4. mx plus b. 2x plus y is equal to negative 3. You have to transform this equation first. You have to move 2x over. It says positive 2x, so you undo it by subtracting 2x. That's not going to give you negative 5x because they're still not like terms. That's still true. Y equals, we're going to write the mx one first, negative 2x plus b minus 3. That says mx plus b. This is your m value, negative 2. There's your slope. And this is your b value. Don't forget the negative that goes with it. Your y-intercept is negative 3. And then you have to divide both terms by 4. 3/4 x gives you y equals 3/4 times x, and negative 8 times 4. Negative 8 divided by 4. So when we simplify that, it's going to say y equals 3/4 x. Negative 8 divided by 4 is minus 2. Now it says mx plus b. Here's your m value. Your slope is 3/4. Here is your b value. Don't forget the negative that goes with it. Your y-intercept is negative 2. And that's 3 equations, finding the slopes and y-intercepts. Example number 2 is actually using or graphing based on the slope and the y-intercept. Negative 2x plus y is equal to negative 3. The first thing you want to do is rewrite it in slope-intercept form. Move this negative 2x over. We know how to move it by adding 2x to both sides. Again, we're not going to put the negative 3 together with the 2x. They're not like terms. So all you have right now is y equals 2x minus 3. Put the mx first. So identify what is your slope. In this case, your slope is 2. Remember, all slopes are fractions. It's rise over run. So if there's no number to put it over, if it's not already a fraction, put it over 1. Your y-intercept, your b value is negative 3. B tells you where to begin. So you begin at negative 3. On your y-axis, you begin at negative 3. You doing this? At negative 3. Your slope tells you 2 over 1. That means go up 2, 1, 2, and to the right 1. And you have 2 points. Once you have 2 points, so that shows you your m and your b. So plot the point. Notice it says 0, negative 3. All you have to understand is that the y value is negative 3. 2, since 2 is your slope, it's going to be written over to make it into a fraction. It's got to be written over 1 to make it say rise over run. If it's already a fraction, you use it just like it is. If it's not a fraction, you can write it over 1. Example number 3 is identifying a family of parallel lines. Remember, parallel lines are going to have the same slope. So in order for them to have the same slope, you're looking for the same m value. Line A, line B, and line C, which of them are parallel? We'll look and see what their slopes are. In order to find the slope of A, you move negative 2x over by adding 2x. You get y equals 2x plus 4. So in order for something to be parallel to that line, it has to have a slope of 2. Okay, for line B, so let's look through those real quick. Line B, when we move x over, you'll have 2y equals negative x plus 6, and divide by 2 for everything. And this one's going to say y equals negative 1 half x. So again, slopes have to have the exact same, parallel lines have to have the exact same slope. In order to convert line C, you have to move 8x over its standard form, ax plus by equals c. When you do that, you subtract 8x and you're left with negative 4y equals, when you move it, you subtract it, so it's negative 8x plus 5. And when you divide by negative 4 on both sides, you got to do it to this term and this term. You get y equals a negative divided by negative is a positive 2x, and then a positive 5 divided by negative 4 is a negative 504. When you compare these three lines, A, B, and C, you can see which ones have the same exact slope. Your m value is 2 for line A and line C, but your m value for B is negative 1 half. Even though it has the number 2 in it, it's not the same value. Therefore, line A and line C are parallel because they have the same slope of 2, and line B's slope is negative 1 half. Okay, then you had to graph the equation. X minus y minus 2 equals 0. Make it say slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Make it say that. Make it easy on yourself. That's what we're trying to get. We want it to say y equals mx plus b. In order to do that, you need to move over x. So in order to move that over, we need to subtract it. If you subtract it there, you subtract it here. Negative y minus 2 is still there, equals 0 minus x is negative x. We still don't have y equals mx plus b. We got negative y subtracting something. So move that b part over by moving it over. It says minus 2, add 2 to it. If you add it there, add it here. Remember, you can't put negative x and positive 2 together because they're not like terms. So right here, it'll cancel it out. Negative y equals negative x plus 2. We almost there. We almost got it saying y equals mx plus b. The last thing we have to undo is this negative 1 times y. Divide by negative 1. Make sure you divide this term and this term by negative 1 as well. So what's going to happen right there is this part's going to cancel out and leave us with y equals. So we get into mx plus b. Negative 1 divided by negative 1 is going to be positive 1x. And then positive 2 divided by negative 1 is going to be negative 2. This says y equals mx plus b. So what we can do is we can graph it now because we know what our m value is and we know what our b value is. Your b value tells you where to begin on your graph. B is negative 2. Notice it's a sign that's with it as well. So at negative 1, 2 on your y-axis, since that's your y-intercept, you're going to put your first point. Your m value is the thing that's multiplying by x. There's nothing there, which means it's 1. Because if it was 0, then the whole thing would be 0. So it's 1. Remember, though, your slope is not just 1. It's always a fraction. So what number can we write 1 over? We can write it over 1, which means go rise over run, go up 1 since it's positive, and go to the right 1 since it's positive. So we have to make ourselves one more mark. We go up 1 and over 1 with our second point, and when you graph that line, not quite like that, when you graph that line, it's going to look like that. And that's the graph of that line. You're going to do the same thing for number 5. Move 2x over by subtracting 2x. When you subtract it from the left and subtract it from the right, you're going to have negative 2x positive 9. Not quite mx plus b. Do one more thing by dividing by 3. Make sure you divide this and this by 3. Y equals negative 2 divided by 3x, and then 9 divided by 3 is plus 3. Mx plus b. Now that you have mx plus b, you can graph the equation. B tells you to begin. This is just like the last one. This says y equals mx plus b. So just like the last one, your b value tells you to begin at 3. That's b. So b tells you to begin at 3 on your y-axis at 1, 2, 3. That's where you're going to put your point. Your m value, your slope, tells you to move. Your m is negative 2 over 5. Negative 2, that's either tells us to go up or down. It's already a fraction, so we don't need to write it over 1. We already got our up and down over our left and right. Negative 2 tells us to go down 2 times and go to the right. Oh, I wrote over 5. That's negative 2 over 3, excuse me. Negative 2 over 3. Go down 2 times and go to the right 3 times. So down 1, 2, and to the right 1, 2, 3 times. Down 2, to the right 3 times. There's 2 points. And once you have 2 points, you can draw your line through them like so. And there's your graph for number 5. Then number 6 and 7 say, decide whether the graphs of the 2 lines are parallel. When we reverse these two to make it say y equals negative 2x positive 5, just to make it say mx plus b, we can see what the slope of it is. Y equals mx. Remember, in order for lines to be parallel, they have to have the exact same slope. When we take the second equation and we make it say y equals mx plus b, we got to move over this positive 2x. So subtract it. When you subtract it there, you subtract it here. Y equals negative 2x plus b would be plus 0. The m value for this one, the thing that's multiplying by x, is negative 2. Compare the two slopes. If they are exactly the same, then the lines are parallel. Both of them are negative 2. Therefore, the answer for number 6 is yes, they are parallel. Make the first equation on number 7 where you can see what its slope is. This is 1x. Divide 1 by 3, and you have y equals 1/3 x. And divide negative 2 by 3, and you get negative 2/3. You can see what the m value is now, 1/3. In order for the other equation to be parallel, it has to have the exact same slope. It has to have 1/3. So let's convert the second equation. 2x plus 6y equals 12. First thing you want to do is move 2x over by subtracting it. You subtract it there, subtract it here. That doesn't give you 10x because they're not like terms. 6y equals negative 2x positive 12. Divide by 6 to get y by itself. Divide it here and here. It'll cancel out. Y equals negative 2 divided by 6. The number 2 goes into both. It goes into negative 2, negative 1 times, negative 1, and it goes into 6 3 times x. 12 divided by 6 is plus 2. Again, compare the slopes. This is m. mx, 1/3 and negative 1/3. Even though they look very similar, 1/3 is not exactly the same as negative 1/3. Therefore, those two lines for number 7 are not parallel lines.